How have you or a loved one managed after having a stroke? Every 10 minutes in Canada, someone has a stroke, and the majority of survivors need support from caregivers and medical rehabilitation experts in the aftermath of their stroke. BC is one of the leaders in research into physical and mental health recovery for stroke patients, and there's a new report out. It's pointing to the growing role of caregivers like family and friends in stroke recovery. We would like to hear from you. How have you or a loved one managed your recovery after a stroke? The numbers to reach us right now, toll free, 1 800 825 5950. If you are in the Lower Mainland area, 604 669 3733. On the cell, star or pound 690. And with me in studio is Warren Barker. Warren Walker. He is a stroke survivor, and Jayne Garland is head of the Department of Physical Therapy at UBC and a stroke researcher at the Heart and Stroke Foundation. Welcome to BC Almanac, both of you, Warren and Jayne.
Great to be here.
Thank you.
Good to have you here. Warren, sorry about calling you Warren Barker. He just flashed in my head for just a moment. But can you describe your own circumstances around having a stroke? What happened and when?
It was May 1st, 2007. I was a pretty stressed out individual. I'd been working very hard through last tax season, which was 2007. And it was very intense time. And finally, at the end of the evening, I had a stroke, which means I lost the use of my left side. I couldn't walk. I collapsed on the floor. My arm and my leg were like spaghetti, like noodles. I couldn't move.
How old were you at the time?
I was 52.
52. And you've touched on one of the risk factors there, stress. You were under a lot of stress.
Stress, high blood pressure, not being medicated for it.
What did you know about that risk before it happened?
I had a stroke 15 years before that. I was prone to stroke, being really dumb about my health. I was 40 pounds overweight, etc., etc.
And how has your recovery been this second time?
It's been hard work, a lot of hard work.
What do you have to do?
I walk continually. I probably spend 2 to 3 hours a day just walking, build my body back. That's been my strength to walk. It's my bringing back my spirit, if you will.
And the physical movement itself and keeping the weight off, are there other benefits that you do get?
I've lost weight. I'm a lot fitter. I walk a lot further. I've done the sun run, which is for somebody in a wheelchair, big transition. And this weekend I'm going out to do a grouse grind with my buddies, which is really good. I'm really happy about that.
Now, our listeners should see the smile on Jayne Garland's face when she's hearing about what he's accomplished. And Jayne, he's doing the grouse grind next. What do you think?
Pretty amazing.
And part of his strategy is to get out there and be active. How critical is that?
Absolutely critical. You know, the saying, use it or lose it. It's very much, even after you've had a catastrophic stroke, if you just keep going and keep trying, you can accomplish so much more than you ever imagined you could at the beginning. Often people think that when they're finished their hospital stay, that their recovery has finished and they go home. But in fact, they recover for years afterwards if they keep at it, setting new goals and keep working toward it.
And this new report that we're hearing about suggests that family and friends have a key role in that. How so?
Huge role. Family and friends are of quintessential importance. I mean, the family's got to be there to support you 100%. Friends got to be around to support 100%. It's a scary, scary, terrifying time. I went through 5 years of thinking about suicide every single day, being depressed about it, not wanting to take medication, the drugs, all those tranquilizers and all those other things. I didn't want to go antidepressants. I didn't want to get in those things. So I knew I had to weather it through. I weathered it through. And the big important difference for me is when I completed that sun run, I realized my mind was no longer a trap. I could get out of the trap. I could walk again. It took me 2 or 3 weeks just to recover from understanding that I was walking again. Then after that, here I am. I'm walking as much as I possibly can every day.
How are your family and friends a part of that, helping you deal with that?
My friends have been absolutely great. My friends have been totally supportive. They've, like, for instance, one friend, I complained about the fact he's in a wheelchair. He said, well, get out of it. Like, get out of it. And I did. He just parked it and left it. Said, I can't do this anymore. Got out of that chair. My family, they ignored me. They basically kicked me at the curb, but that's okay. Because the friends have stood me through. It's very, very important. I want to emphasize this. It's very, very important that family gets involved from day one from somebody has a stroke and work on getting the recovery. Recovery is hugely important to start on instantly.
Jayne, a stroke. Could you remind us what's happening? What's at play when a stroke occurs? And it sounds like it can affect different people in different ways.
Yes, a stroke essentially is a blockage to the blood flow to part of your brain, and it makes it very difficult for the brain to control your muscles and movements and also to control your speech and how you think. And so the type of, presentation, how you look after your stroke depends on exactly where the blockage was in your brain.
Which is affecting the other parts of your body.
Mm-hmm.
And in the therapy that you do, what's an example of how you help people begin that recovery?
Well, I'm a stroke researcher, but I'm also a physiotherapist. And physiotherapists spend a lot of time working with people after stroke, trying to get them standing and walking to the best of their ability. So the research study that I'm doing now that's funded by the Heart and Stroke Foundation, thanks to all you donors out there, is to look at a different type of exercise to see if it won't just be that much better at getting people out in the community walking and balancing better.
We are asking our listeners, too, to share their stories of stroke recovery and whether that's yourself or a family member helping someone else recover. 669-3733, 1-800-825-5950. How have you or a loved one managed that recovery after a stroke? And Warren Walker is with me, a stroke survivor, and Jayne Garland is head of the Department of Physical Therapy at UBC and a stroke researcher. And Carrie is waiting in Forest Grove to speak. Carrie, go ahead, please.
Hello. Yes, I'm a 4-year survivor of a stroke. It was a medium-sized one and deep within my brain, and it left me with my right side paralyzed. And when I first had it, it was I can't say to you I was exactly frightened. I was just stunned. It came out of the blue. I was extremely active. I had no factors to have one, and bang, go then it did. And so when I first came home from the hospital, my husband would help me out to the garden, which I would drag my side along with me. I mean, it was really something, but what I wanted to say to people, keep doing and doing and doing and doing. I couldn't even read a book. But I started reading the dictionary, and I did, and I did, and I did, and I did. And finally one day I understood what I was reading. And I began to retain some of the memory things. And so it was a difficult journey, but if they just don't look front or sideways, just go and do what they can.
Wow. Warren, this is the marvel of the human brain, isn't it? That it can relearn this way, the way she's describing.
It's really, really cool when you start understanding and studying more. I mean, I'm a layperson, but brain plasticity is real. I'm living through it. I'm living it. I'm living the dream of building my brain back and starting to connect my brain to my legs and walk some more. So I'm living that. It's 100% true.
Jayne, what message do you take from Carrie's story?
Practice makes perfect, and not to give up. Just as Carrie said, she set it in her mind she was going to get better, and she just persevered. I think oftentimes it's difficult to persevere. As Warren was saying, you can get pretty down, and that's, I think, also where family and friends can be of such help, just to keep you buoyed for the long run, because it is a long run for the recovery. It's not going to happen in a day, a week, a month, but you'll see changes over months to years.
It must be difficult for family and friends, though, to get an accurate reading of where that person is at, because on the one hand, you're recovering from the stroke and trying to regain mobility or speech. or in Carrie's case, trying to read. So how do you know how they're really doing if they're feeling depressive or suicidal? How do you get at that and help them if they reach that point?
I think that's I'll say this. I know I'm going to say this again and again, but you have to have family and friends get full on supporting you right away. Get back on the brain damage. Start rewiring the brain to take over the arm, take over the leg, and keep on going.
So keep encouraging the action, the activity, is what it comes down to.
Yes, and there are a lot of research studies going on in BC and across Canada on stroke rehabilitation. And I encourage people to participate in research after stroke. It's a great way of improving yourself and getting a better understanding of what you can and can't do. And that's another way of kind of keeping track of how you're doing.
Carrie, thanks for the inspiring story from Forest Grove in our Cariboo region of the province. It's about 1:45. The numbers to reach us, 604-669-3733 around Metro Vancouver. 1-800-825-5950 is the toll-free way. On the cell, star or pound 690. Sheila is next, waiting in Kelowna. Sheila?
Good afternoon, Mark.
Hi, go ahead, please.
So about August of last year, a good friend of mine suffered a stroke. We weren't able to find her within the first 72 hours. And as a result, the stroke was so severe, it was global, and really destroyed her short-term memory. She spent 6 months in the hospital while we tried to find a facility and a space that would be appropriate to support her ongoing recovery. However, she ended up being placed in a seniors care facility in the meantime. So she's 51 years old, First Nations woman, who has no anchor in the day. She doesn't know what year or anything like that is. And as family and friends, we're doing our best to spend time with her. We put up calendars, notes, things to try to reassure her, things to try to anchor her in today and here and now. But our greatest challenge is working with our health authority here to have her put in a home-based setting. We're already 11 months into her injury, and as family and friends, we're really frightened that the window's closing in terms of getting those motor skills and understanding of the day and week and where is she and that she's safe. So certainly family and friends are an important part of this, but we need help from our health authority and from the experts in terms of how can we expedite this as the injury continues to settle in.
I'll ask Jayne Garland to respond to what you're saying.
Yeah, Sheila, I certainly understand your concern about having appropriate residential living arrangements. And that is a very real issue that hopefully BC will be able to tackle. In terms of being panicked that a window is closing, I wouldn't go there. You know, I have seen so many people following stroke where it's years later and they are still making significant improvements. I mean, Warren's a great example. His stroke was in 2007, and Warren decided 4 months ago to get up and walk. So these things are possible many years after the stroke. So don't worry that a window is closing.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Sheila, for the phone call. I didn't realize, Warren, that you were in a wheelchair that long, and then you
I was
decided.
in a wheelchair for well over 5 years.
5 years. And what was the best home setting for you, or where were you able to make the most gains?
When I made the most gains is when I moved in by myself in the Olympic Village, and I had to take care of myself, make my own meals, do everything I had to do myself. Guess what? It showed up that way. Suddenly I was just doing it. And then when that friend looked at me square in the eye, I said, I don't want to hear you complaining about your wheelchair. Till I got out, he was right. So I did. I got out. Thanks, God. I'm out.
And is he going on the grouse grind with you? I hope he is.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, he better be.
You're right. 6:15 a.m. at the trailhead Sunday morning. We'll be there.
Very good. What are your longer term goals now? What do you hope to be able to achieve?
I want to bring my hand back. I want to work with Jayne to get my hand back. What you're not aware of, and I'm trying to make you aware of now, is that Jayne and her team is going to world, like is the forefront of the whole world, on the whole planet, with the research she's doing, one step above what everybody else has done up till now. I'm really excited about it because I happen to be part of it. So I'm totally behind it. I get a chance to get my hand back, get my arm back, and I can speak. The best thing here is because I lost my speech for almost a year, first time around. I can speak now. Yoo-hoo! I can speak.
Jayne, the therapies you're doing, I'm reading that it's fast movements is part of what you are doing your work on, and does that relate to Warren and how he is going to try and get use of his arm back?
Not so much about his arm, but what the fast therapy is about is safe walking in the community. You need to have the ability to react to things that happen to you. If you're jostled or there's an obstacle or you misjudge where you should be, you need to get your foot out to protect yourself. And so the fast training is to teach the muscles to contract quickly, not so much whether you're strong or whatever. It's all about speed.
The response time.
Exactly. Because you don't really have to be particularly strong to get your foot out to protect yourself, but you do have to be fast. You're down before you know it if you're not fast.
And that relates to balance too, I guess.
To balance, it will help prevent falls. It will give you more mobility out in rough terrain or on the grass or all sorts of things.
Just reading a note Gary called from Vanderhoof about reversible cerebral vascular syndrome connected to over-the-counter cough medicine. Apparently his wife had a stroke related to taking those medicines. Are you familiar with that as a possible side effect or outcome?
No, actually, I'm not.
Or what it might be, reversible cerebral vascular syndrome. So I guess we'll have to do more research.
Something I need to read up on.
Jules is tweeting, I recovered thanks to quick medical treatment, TPA, and a clot-busting drug, lots of physical therapy, and sheer force of will, which is what Jules shares with Warren. We didn't talk really about the quick response time, and that's something that Sheila pointed to, that it was 72 hours before she found her friend, or others did. How important is that?
It is important for the medical team to administer the TPA or these clot busters. You have to be able to have your CAT scan in a certain period of time so they can be sure it's not a hemorrhagic stroke. If it's a hemorrhage, you don't want to do these clot busting things or you'll just make the bleed worse. So they have to find out what's caused your stroke. So if you're not in there fast enough, then they can't administer that TPA. And it's important to remember that TPA, when it works great, no doubt about it. But for the number of people who, there's only a certain number of people who are lucky enough to have their stroke when they're awake, that, and it's the right type of stroke, etc. So by far, the most effective treatment for stroke is physiotherapy, exercise. There's not a magic pill for all.
I was also reading that the majority, I think 68%, experience what's called a mild stroke. So, and they return home and they're able to recover. That has to be encouraging too.
Absolutely. And yet, having a mild stroke, what that means is that you can get home to do regular things. But it doesn't mean that those people can play basketball with their kids, can run the sun run. So, and when you're having strokes younger and younger, people even with mild strokes can really benefit from further physiotherapy and further activity to push the envelope a little further.
Warren, the prevention message, what would you like others to know about the factors in our lives that we should watch and try and control to prevent strokes?
The classic stuff like weight. If I lose 20 pounds, I lose 20 points in my blood pressure as well. And that's very important. Is weight and nutrition, exercise is all there. It's the simple stuff. I mean, I walked around without any medication. I was a walking time bomb waiting to happen. And guess what? I already had one stroke like 15 years before that. I should have known then. I kept on going. 15 years later, I had the massive one, which was hemorrhagic, by the way. It broke part of my brain, and I lost my left side. Here I am. I'm speaking. I'm so happy to be alive and doing what I'm doing. I'll tell you that for sure.
Here. And other
people
things.
who are interested in stroke prevention can go on to the Heart and Stroke Foundation. There's a website. Can I?
You sure can.
www.makehealthlast, all one word, .ca. And on that website, you can assess your risk factors for stroke, learn about the lifestyle changes you can do to prevent stroke, and much more.
I will add that to our webpage as well, so
thank
people
you.
can make that link quickly. Thanks so much to both of you, Jayne Garland and Warren Walker, for being here today. And you're inspiring, Warren. There'll be people looking for you on the Grouse Grind on Sunday morning at 6:15
a.m. The gates open at 6:15. I'll be there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jayne Garland is head of the Department of Physical Therapy at UBC and a stroke researcher at the Heart and Stroke Foundation, as she mentioned, and we will post the link that she just told us about. And Warren Walker is a stroke survivor.